Okay, today we got an Icom. This is an Ic-208H that I got off eBay. The description basically was listed as non-working. Would not power on. Taking it out of the box, really bad smell of burnt electronics. To be quite honest with you, I actually think this may have been installed on a boat that may have been in salt water. There's actually some pretty bad corrosion on a lot of the connectors, and if you can see here, this is after I've cleaned it up a bit. So we're going to pull it apart and figure out what exactly, this may not be repairable. We're going to pull it apart and see if we can find out what happened to it, and if it can be repaired, we're going to do so. Okay, pretty bad. This may be the awfulest looking radio that I've ever seen. It looks like it's had some type of catastrophic failure right where the power actually goes onto the board. I have to do a little bit more research about what components may actually be cooked. But that's pretty bad. Okay, so we got it apart. This is not going to be repairable. This is probably the worst. This is probably the worst radio I've ever seen. You can take a look there. It's just covered in muck. The transistor is actually exploded. You can see the traces here where it was actually connected. This thing is just totally destroyed. There's actually burn marks all around. I'm not really sure what environment this was put in, but it definitely was not a good one. So this should just give you a good example of, you know, what's out there on eBay, what you can expect, especially if they indicate that it's not working. I did come out ahead still on this deal. The remote head actually works really good, and it's here. And I was able to clean it up. So I've got a complete head unit with the remote cable that I'll be able to use with any other 208H. Okay, I've cleaned up everything a bit. Just one thing I wanted to note, in case you ever do have to take one of these off. This is the front and this is the rear, and basically what you want to do is unassemble the board and loosen it. It'll actually have some countersunk holes, 4 countersunk holes, and then several screws that actually hold the PCB. You will have to unsolder the UHF connector that's in this hole. The MOSFETs, I'm not really sure whether they come like this normally or not. They're actually screwed in via these countersunk holes that you can get to from the top of the board, and they're relatively delicate, so you want to be really careful when you're pulling them out. On this particular unit, this is the transistor. It's a Toshiba SAU82L. That's the transistor, and normally they'll actually have leads that come out of here. This one has exploded on the board and was in multiple pieces when we disassembled it. This one's still on the board. You can see some charring. I'm assuming they very likely this radio actually was hooked up with reverse polarity, and that's actually how it's connected and how it's heat sinked down. But basically what you want to do is actually take the board and tilt the rear up. You want to bring the rear up first and slide out, and the reason being is there's actually a connector here. I'll show it to you here. This connector will catch, and you basically what you're wanting to do is actually lift the board up from the rear and slide it back and out. It'll save you a lot of headache if you ever have to work on these. I know several people that have actually replaced the finals without any issue. I'm not going to do that on this radio. This PCB is trash. Just kind of give you an idea of the minor explosion that occurred. That's the crater that was left on the 12-volt lead. The ground's still connected. It blew several connectors off. I could see a lot of trace damage on the board. But that's how you disassemble the 208H. The only other items are there's a cover that it's actually placed on like so, that you'll remove. And these 4 holes, 2 here and there's 2 here, that give you top board access to unscrew the board and the finals from the heatsink. One neat thing I noticed on this radio, it's really small. It's probably one of the smallest radios I've seen that actually has a data connector, which is kind of cool. I kind of wished this would have been repairable. The component layout on the board, it looks repairable. If you have like a minor problem, it wouldn't take a lot of surface mount work to actually repair something on this board. And the rear finals are actually, you know, they're not surface mount, they're leaded parts, so they should be a fairly easy repair if you have just a minor problem. Anyway, I hope you liked the video. Like I say, this one's not repairable, and this is a good example of this radio's lived a very hard life.